Welcome to Read Aloud with Raa Raa. Raa Raa story time is a fun time. Subscribe and don't miss the stories. The Magic Book's Wish. Story written by Raa Raa. Illustration Vignesh Saravanan. Editing Vignesh Govindaraj. It was a Friday evening. There was a gentle breeze. Our hero, Asad, was returning from school. He was quite excited as he had won first place in the writing competition held in the school. He was jumping and hopping all the way home. Asad lived in a small village which had no schools around. So, he travelled 2 kilometers to reach the school in the town. He had to walk a long distance, but Asad did not mind the tiring journey as he loved the school and was always willing to learn. This made him attentive in the class, which in turn made him knowledgeable. In the morning, a writing competition was held in the school. Many students, including Asad, participated in it. Asad won first place, collected his award, and was happily returning home. On the way back, Asad heard some nice music coming from somewhere nearby. As he looked around, he saw a blind man playing a flute, and the music was relaxing and calming. Asad, who was already in a happy mood, felt happier. So, he stopped and stood beside the blind man and listened to the music for a long time. He spoke when the blind man was done playing the flute. "Hello, what's your name, sir?" On hearing Asad, the blind man turned his head towards his side. "Hello, who is this?" asked the blind man. Asad replied, "My name is Asad. I study in this nearby town school." "Oh, is it so? I'm glad to meet you, Asad. My name is Opus." The blind man introduced himself. "Nice to meet you, Opus," said Asad and continued. "What's the instrument that you are playing? The music is so good." Asad was curious to know about the instrument that the blind man was playing. "This is a flute, Asad," Opus said. "Oh, can I see it? Will you please give it to me?" "Why not? You can see it. Give your hand to me." Opus held Asad's hand and gave the flute to him. Asad touched the flute and was wondering how the sound was produced. His curiosity about the flute, the music, and Opus increased. So, he continued his conversation with Opus for a long time. By now, Asad had developed a liking for Opus. Now, Opus was also curious to know about Asad and hence asked, "By the way, where do you stay, Asad?" Just then, Asad realized that it was very late and he still had to walk a long way to reach home. So, he showed urgency in his speech. "Oh, sorry, Opus. It's already late. I have to leave. I live about a couple of kilometers from here. Bye bye, said Asad and started to walk away. The blind man stopped him and said, 1 minute, Azad. Will you take me to the riverside, which is a little far away from this place? Okay, Opus, I will leave you there. Come with me. Saying this, he held his hand. They both walked together. They spoke a lot, and from Asad's speech, Opus understood that Asad was studious and inquisitive. Asad left him near the riverside and said, Opus, shall I leave you here, or do you want me to accompany you to your home? Opus answered, No, Azad, I know the way, so I will take care. Asad felt relieved as he was in a hurry, since it was very late. Okay, Opus, bye-bye. Just then, Opus stopped him. Azad, I understand that you are wise and so curious to learn new things. I have a gift for you. Saying this, he took out a very old book from his lengthy handbag and gave it to Azad. Azad, without thinking, took the book as he was very fond of them. He said bye to Opus and went home. By now, Asad's mother was anxious. Asad had always returned home from school on time, but today he was yet to return home. Hence, she was waiting outside their home for him. As soon as she saw Asad, she said, Asad dear, why so late? I was very worried about you, dear. Sorry, Mom. I will not be late again. Mom, I won first place in the writing competition, he said and gave the medal to his mom. His mom was very proud and showed the medal to his father. His parents appreciated him. They all had dinner together. As night approached, Asad felt asleep. He was preparing to go to bed and suddenly he remembered the book given by Opus. He looked at the book. It was very old and its cover was so damaged that he couldn't even see the title. Asad opened the book. To his surprise, the page was blank. As he was thinking, suddenly words appeared one by one, forming the lines. First, the title appeared. It said, The Magic Book's Wish. Then the book started to speak. I'm a magic book, Asad. I know you are intelligent. I want you to answer all my questions. This is my wish. Asad was now scared. The magic book continued. Don't be afraid, my friend. I will not harm you. No one has ever answered all my questions. Hope you will give me the right answers. The magic book asked the first question. A magical music moved you. The music is filled with love and longingness. Friends for short time, but friend is filled with dark. Answer now, who is the friend? If your answer is right, I will ask the next question, else will disappear. Now, Asad wanted to answer the question. He thought for a long time. He thought about all his friends and was confused. Then it struck him. Asad befriended Opus in the evening. He is the friend whom he knew for a short time, and he was blind, hence in dark. He replied, It is Opus, my blind friend. Excellent. Good answer. The magic book asked the next question. How do you relate truth and trust? Asad thought for a moment and answered. Trust is developed through the actions of the person. True actions of the person make you trust him. Well done. A sensible answer. The magic book asked the next question. Why are people in dark in spite of having eyes? Asad quickly recollected whatever he had read and heard so far. Then he said, a person who doesn't understand other person's pain, who fails to notice the good things around him, who ignores his blessings and thinks only about the tough things in life, are the ones who live in dark with eyes. On hearing him, a light glowed in the book. Well done! Again, a good answer. Asad, you have given all good answers to my questions. Tomorrow, go and meet your friend. The book closed and didn't speak again. Asad tried speaking to the book, but it didn't reply. Asad decided to meet Opus and tell him about the book. He slept with a lot of questions running in his mind. The next day morning, he took the book along with him, went to the riverside and searched for Opus, but he was not there. So, he went to school. He was physically present in the classroom, but was mentally filled with the thoughts of the book and the blind man. When the school bell rang in the afternoon, he rushed to the tree where he had met Opus. There, he saw Opus playing his flute. Asad stood listening to the music. Then he tapped Opus on his shoulder. As Opus looked in his direction, Asad spoke. Opus, this is a magic book. Yesterday, it asked me questions. No one will believe this. Please keep this book with you. And handed over the book to Opus. As soon as Opus held the book, something flashed. Asad got scared and closed his eyes. When Asad opened his eyes, he was surprised to see Opus. Yes, Opus had got his vision back and the book had disappeared. Opus said, Thanks, Asad. I lost my vision because of a curse by a holy man. I begged him for mercy. So, he gave this book to me and said that I will only get my vision back when a boy answers the questions in the book and returns the book back to me. I asked the holy man that how a small boy could answer such wise questions. He said that I would have to wait till I meet an intelligent boy. I waited and met you. But within a short time of interacting with you, I understood that you are intelligent and smart. Hence, I gave the book to you. Thank you, Asad. Opus was very happy to get his vision back. Both of them were happy and they stayed together as friends forever. The Woodcutter and the Magic Leaves. Once upon a time, there lived a woodcutter, Ethan, with his wife Naomi and children Peter and Sarah. He cut the trees in the nearby forest for his living. One day, as usual, he went to the forest. He went deep inside the forest in search of a big tree. He walked a long distance. Suddenly, his eyes opened wide and he was filled with joy. There, standing in front of him, was a huge old tree with a lot of branches. Overjoyed, he took his axe to cut the tree. Suddenly, he heard a voice. "Oh, woodcutter, stop! Please don't cut me!" pleaded the old tree. The woodcutter was taken aback. A speaking tree? He thought to himself. He was speechless for a while and then said, "Oh, old tree, I understand your pain. I pity you. But this is my job. I sell wood and live. If I start to spare trees, my family and I will end up without any food. I'm sorry." After saying this, he took his axe again to chop the tree. The tree spoke again. "Oh, woodcutter, if that's your problem, I can help you." The woodcutter looked at the tree and asked, "You, a tree? How can you help me? Don't try to fool me." The tree said, "Oh, woodcutter, I will give you 10 magic leaves. I have been saving these for many years. These leaves will make your wishes come true." The woodcutter was angry. "Don't tell me those stories. I don't believe in magic." The tree, sounding friendlier, said, "Believe me, I have saved these leaves for many years now. Take them with you and lead a good and rich life." The woodcutter thought for a while and replied, "Okay, give them to me." The old tree gave the leaves to him and said, "Close your eyes and make a wish. It will come true." The tree stopped for a couple of seconds and continued, "Be careful and do not drop the leaves down." The tree added in a warning tone, "If anyone knows that you own these magic leaves, they may kill you and your family. So don't tell this to anyone." The woodcutter reached home with the leaves. His wife was waiting outside for him. When he came closer to his home, his wife asked, "Where are the bread loaves for dinner?" He was feeling a bit shameful for coming home with only the leaves. But he narrated the whole story to his wife Naomi and gave the leaves to her. "What are you talking? Children are waiting for food and you are telling me some weird story." Naomi hailed and threw the leaves down. Ethan was very angry. He shouted, "Naomi, why did you throw the leaves? The old tree said not to drop them down." They were shouting at one another, but by now the 10 leaves which fell down had turned to 10 drops. Ethan looked at them with surprise. As if to add to his surprise, one of the dwarfs started speaking. "Oh Lord, my name is Renta. I'm the eldest in this group, and we were living in the nearby woods. Sadly, the old magical tree captured us and turned us into leaves. Each one of us were changed into leaves to fulfill the wishes of the person who owns these leaves. We have to fulfill wishes and should eventually die. And you, instead of wishing, dropped us down and gave us lives. We will stay with you." The frustrated woodcutter put his hands on his head and sat down. Naomi, his wife, who was watching all this, started yelling, "Oh my God! We ourselves are struggling very hard for a living. How can we feed the 10 of you? Leave this place immediately." "Oh lady, don't worry. We will work for you. Give us a little food to share among us," Renta said politely. On hearing this, Ethan and Naomi discussed and Naomi answered, "Okay, you can stay with us, but you should do whatever we say without any questions." "Okay, we will just follow your orders," agreed Renta and the other dwarfs. Days went by. The dwarfs worked hard, but Naomi and Ethan behaved very rudely with them. Still, the dwarfs never got angry. One day, the woodcutter and the dwarfs were cutting the trees in the forest. Suddenly, they heard a voice shouting out for help. "Help! Help!" They followed the voice and reached the spot. "Help! Help!" A woman was stuck and trapped in a pit. It was a deep pit. The woodcutter said, "We are leaving this place. The pit is deep. It's already late and getting dark. Not safe to stay here anymore." But the good Renta refused to go with the woodcutter. "Wait, woodcutter. What about this lady? We can't leave her alone." The woodcutter was angry. "No, we have to leave now. You had agreed to follow my orders. Let's first leave the place." Renta was adamant. "It's inhuman. We can't leave her in the forest alone." Saying this, Renta jumped into the pit. Immediately, the next one jumped on his shoulder. Then, one by one, the other dwarfs too jumped in a similar fashion. The lady climbed on them and came out of the pit. By the time a few soldiers and an elderly person reached the place, they helped the dwarfs to come out of the pit. The elderly person turned to the dwarfs and said, "Dwarfs, I'm the minister of the Deborah kingdom. Thank you for saving our princess Nora." The woodcutter and the dwarfs were astonished and were happy to see the princess. Renta bowed in front of the princess and said, "Oh princess, it's our pleasure to save you. If you don't mind, shall we know why you came deep inside the forest?" The minister interrupted and said, "She came in search of the magic leaves." On hearing this, the dwarfs looked at one another and smiled, saying, "Magic leaves?" The princess, who was exhausted by climbing, took some time and started to speak. "Yes, the magic leaves from an old tree in this forest. Those leaves will make any wish come true. Our old court minister used to tell us about the magic leaves." After saying this, the princess turned angry. She ordered to her soldiers, "Take this woodcutter and chop his head. The cruel man who was not ready to save a trapped woman." On hearing this order, all the dwarfs immediately knelt before the princess and begged, "Oh princess, please pardon him. We beg you." "Okay, I will spare him for you. I like your kindness and your bravery, dwarfs. By the way, could you all help me to find the magic leaves?" The dwarfs revealed that they were the magic leaves. They told her how they were captured, changed, and got their original forms. The princess was happy. She said, "You saved me. I name you as the lucky 10 dwarfs. Come with me to the palace." Renta said, "Sorry, princess. We would like to stay in the forest with the woodcutter and his family." The princess raised her eyebrows and said, "With this cruel woodcutter? You want to refuse the luxuries of the palace?" "Yes," said the dwarfs and humbly continued, "This poor woodcutter saved us and gave us life. He shared his little food with us. We are working for him, and if we leave, it will be difficult for him. We will stay with him. Sorry for not heeding to your request. In that case, at least accept this bag of gold and live by yourself. Don't be with this woodcutter," said the princess, and grabbed a bag of gold from her minister and graciously gave it to the dwarfs. The dwarf handed the gold back to the woodcutter and said, "Take this bag. I think you don't need us anymore. We will leave you." The woodcutter was ashamed of his act and behavior, but also moved by the dwarf's loyalty and love. "My wife and I were extremely rude and treated you as slaves, but you dwarfs are so kind to us. I am ashamed. Please forgive me. Stay with us." Saying this, the woodcutter cried heavily. The dwarfs were moved by his words and agreed to stay with him and his family. "You are gifted to have these dwarfs with you," said the princess, and left the forest. From then on, the dwarfs, the woodcutter, and his family lived happily and were always kind to each other.